Hey, Foot Clan, are you a fantasy champion? Or are you about to be? Or maybe you are in the past? You need to check out fantasychamps.com, the sponsor of today's show. We just outfitted our entire league, a 10-year league, with fantasy rings, one for every single champion. You can get championship rings, championship trophies. You can get all sorts of stuff over at fantasychamps.com, so check it out and use the promo code BALLERS.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Play Draft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, it is waiver day, and it is October 3rd, so we are going to break it down. And I'm excited. Andy Holloway here with Jason Moore and Mike, the fantasy hitman, Wright.
I am as excited as someone who was down 5 points with the Kansas City Chiefs DST on the final 4 seconds of that game.
My eyes just went. I went googly eyes when I saw Houston pick it up and then make an effort to run it in.
I had done the math before that drive where, okay, even if they go to overtime and they kick a field goal and then a touchdown scores, I can't lose the over-under bet because I bet the under against you, Andy. I was like, okay, so it's impossible for me to now lose. And then when that Kansas City DST, when Justin Houston decided instead of laying down with the ball and having the game be over to run in the touchdown.
Would you have laid down?
And they said, oh, they're calling the kicker back out. That's what the announcer said to kick the extra point. I'm like, no, that would be 50 points. It was a 49.5 point over-under.
Number one, there's no way I'm laying down if I'm Justin Houston. You get, as a defensive player, you have probably a handful of times you can score in your entire career. I'm taking that to the house.
Undoubtedly, not everybody saw the game last night, and the final play of the game was a desperation snap from the 25-yard line. Hook and ladder, throw the ball around, lateral it all around. The play bounces all over the place, and it ends up being a loose ball at about the 10, and Justin Houston, instead of falling on the ball, Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman, he picks it up and rumbles into the end zone, and then they don't kick the extra point. They take a knee, which teams generally they take a knee. Sometimes they kick it. Most often they take a knee, and that affected the over-under, which I had a bet with Jason on Monday Night Football, the over-under bet, and I took the over, he took the under, and it ended up at 49 points, and the over-under was 49.5.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible. So I lost that bet, which means that I am not going to get out of any waterings this week. We all get a water this week. So very entertaining, interesting game. Terrell Pryor showed a little something for the fantasy owners last night. But here's my quick question for you, and I have my answer, but I'm very curious. We have not talked about this. Quick question. Is Alex Smith now an every week starter at the quarterback position? Through 4 weeks, he's been very, very good. I can break the numbers down for you if you'd like.
Sure.
Through 4 weeks, at least in our league scoring system, he's the number 2 overall quarterback with a 46-point week, a 20, a 20, and a 33. And, yesterday, very interestingly, 7 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown.
Yes, including the one where Kareem Hunt owners just lost an entire chunk of hair as they tore it from their head.
That was a good play, though.
It was a great play.
Andy Reid.
It was a great NFL play. It was terrible for my fantasy team. I almost tilted during that play.
That is good for Alex Smith owners. So what do you think? Every week start?
I think that he is, at this point, you got to say he is very, very close. But he plays Denver twice. I'm not playing him against Denver at this point. Lucky for fantasy owners.
One of them is week 17.
One of them is week 17, so that does not matter for most people. And that's the game in Denver.
Right.
So celebrate your good fortune there. But Houston, it doesn't terrify me. Pittsburgh is, at least it's a home game. Oakland.
Light them up.
At this point, how can you argue? Alex Smith is balling out. That the scramble throw to Albert Wilson on the sideline, the laser beam, was incredible. I mean, I feel like Patrick Mahomes has come in here and lit just that fire under Alex Smith's butt. We're like, Alex,
you're going to have to take
You
some
have
deep
to
shot.
start throwing the ball. And he's he's done that.
Well, the weapons, I think, are
they've helped.
What really matter. I mean, Kareem Hunt has helped the offense so much that they just continue to move the ball and score points. That's what gives you fantasy points. So I think Alex Smith is a safe start. That I would still, I mean, because of where you got him, if you've got a great core, if you're rocking Tom Brady and you've got Alex Smith too, then no. But he's going to be a top 12 finish type of guy almost every single week, other than the Denver week.
Mike talked me out of Alex Smith in our dynasty
I apologize
league because of Simeon's home matchup, and I played the stream of Simeon and I won, so it didn't matter. But Alex Smith, here's what Alex Smith is.
Also helped when Josh Norman left the game.
Sure.
Just saying, like at Kansas City, they were moving
right.
a little bit towards the beginning. Then Josh Norman went out, and that's kind of when it opened up for them.
Alex Smith this year, it's like you have a 6-sided die, and when you roll it, which is starting Alex Smith,
you're going D&D.
It either lands
with a 12.
It either lands on Tyreek Hill, or it lands on Kelsey, or it lands on Hunt, or it lands on rushing yardage. Like, your odds of a great game with Alex Smith have just gone way, way up. And so, yeah, for me, he's an every week start now. You laid out the schedule pretty well. I'd probably, if I had to, start him at home against Denver. Denver,
I would not.
Denver gave up yet another passing touchdown this week. They're near the top of the league in passing touchdowns given up. They have a completely stout – one of the biggest surprises in fantasy and in the real NFL is how stout the run defense in Denver is. Teams have been able to score against Denver through the air, not necessarily a high production situation, but it's happened. So I'm not going to overplay that. And I wanted to actually talk about this too before we get into news and notes, and then we're going to get into the waiver wire, and we have our streams, quarterback streams of the week on the show today as well. But I wanted to talk about this, and this leads into it, and you guys might have a difference of opinion, but the chasing of points and the worry about certain matchups should only go so far. This week, if you took Chris Thompson and you paid for him on the waiver wire, or you were just enamored by the success, and you started him over a guy like Amir Abdullah because you were afraid of Minnesota's rushing defense, you got burnt, and you got burnt big. Abdullah had a nearly 100-yard game, scored a touchdown. The volume for Abdullah, 20 carries in that game against Minnesota, and you would have traded that for the most recent situation, which, look, I was wrong a week ago about Chris Thompson's decrease, but the math was going to come to fruition. If you only get a handful of touches, 8 to 10 touches a game, unless you take 3 to the house or have some monstrous play every game, it just evens out.
Yeah, you can't.
So you got to be
sustain
careful.
You don't chase points; you chase the volume. And Amir Abdullah has been getting 15-plus touches every single game. This last game against Minnesota got 20 carries, had the touchdown. Yeah, I mean, fantasy is about opportunity so much, and I would say even more so at the running back position. That's probably the most important position to look at volume and opportunity.
But to be fair, I would have most likely played Chris Thompson over Amir Abdullah against the Vikings. Yes. The shocking thing for Chris Thompson was not that you knew the carries were going to be low. He only got 6 carries, but it was the targets. He had 5, 7, 7, and then he dropped to 2. And when Rob Kelly he was expected to play, but it was going to be a questionable situation with the ribs, ended up tweaking his ankle. I expected Chris Thompson to be a safe 5 target guy.
Yeah, I guess the way I saw it was both were bad matchups. I mean, you're in Arrowhead at Kansas City. If they're both bad matchups, give me the guy that's going to touch the ball 20-plus times. But that's why we're here, to talk through these things.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, that sleeper bot alert hit yesterday and updated us to the Derek Carr situation. Jack Del Rio said that Derek Carr has a transverse process fracture in his back, will be out 2 to 6 weeks. This is a major issue for the offensive pieces for Oakland, obviously, with E.J. Manuel now starting. Derek Carr, I believe this is the same type of issue that Tony Romo had in his back. He thinks he can get back sooner than later, but you're looking at a couple of weeks where, I mean, it's just not pretty in Oakland right now. Marshawn Lynch has been borderline unusable. He had 9 carries and 6 carries the last 2 weeks, so single-digit carries. It's not going to get easier for him with E.J. Manuel under center. Michael Crabtree injured, We'll see if he plays this week. Amari Cooper is currently the 71st ranked wide receiver in fantasy football. 1 reception, 2 receptions the past 2 weeks. And so what are we looking for? I mean, if you have to start somebody, let's say Crabtree's out there, do you have enough confidence starting him as a wide receiver 2 this week? Do you have enough confidence with any of these players? I mentioned Jared Cook before the show because Cook's targets went up with E.J. Manuel in there, and he's getting those targets. But what do you do with Oakland?
I'm still okay. Let's say Michael Crabtree is cleared to play. I will still play him, just using the process of Michael Crabtree's the possession receiver. I don't have to worry about E.J. Manuel going deep and being accurate with a deep ball and just those short to intermediate routes. So I would be okay with him. Oh, but how?
This is really.
Do you
tough
really
on
bench
this
Amari
matchup.
Cooper? I know the numbers are terrible, but can you really bench him?
Yeah, let me lay that out. Let me lay that out for you. I just traded for Amari Cooper in our league of record because I still believe that this season he's going to be fine. I mean, we knew coming off that Denver matchup that he wasn't going to have a good game, and he has. While he's been a good wide receiver, he's always had big games and dud games. That being said, this would be a week where you can absolutely bench him. Unless you have to start Amari Cooper, I don't think you want – look, the matchup itself, if Derek Carr was there, you'd be going, man, can I trust Amari Cooper against Baltimore, who has given up 2 passing touchdowns to wide receivers on the entire year, and now you take Derek Carr out, you put E.J. Manuel in. Can Amari Cooper have a good game? Yeah. If you have to start him, could you be fine? Yeah. But I'm not calling for like, hey, you need to start Amari Cooper because he's going to bounce back to what his norm is in a tough matchup with E.J. Manuel as a quarterback. So he's a lower end. He'll probably be in my 30s in my ranking, and you'll have to make a tough decision this week.
And I think that you need to adjust on Amari Cooper now. He hasn't had a 100-yard game since week 8 of last year. So you're going on now a pretty significant run, 12-plus games, where he hasn't scored over 14 fantasy points. He hasn't had more than 5 receptions. I just don't know what that means. Now, he has the physical ability to essentially break out again, to ascend and gain confidence. But I think you're starting the name now. It's unfortunate. 5-1-1. I mean, when you said that Amari Cooper can get you a big game, what do you really see as the ceiling for that? Do you see 50 yards and a touchdown as a good game for Amari Cooper?
No, I would see, 75 yards and a touchdown at least. That's what I'm saying as a good game. I mean, like we said, you don't chase the points, you chase the volume, and the volume has still been there for him. Last season when you're right from after week 8, he didn't have 100 yards. I think his highest game was 76 yards. Still
72.
Yeah, maybe it was
I'm
72.
looking at it. So
still he had 132 targets on the year, and he's pacing to be incredibly involved in this offense. So I am not off of Amari Cooper at all, but right now with E.J. Manuel and the Baltimore Ravens, not excited.
Andrew Luck worked back into practice this week. He's going to be practicing, fellas. And then you have Ryan Kelly announced this morning, center for the Colts, going to be back week 5. The time to make a move for some Colts is right now. T.Y. Hilton,
Frank Gore,
Dante Moncrief.
They're playing the San Francisco 49ers this week. You get your center back, and you're able to move the ball. I think Frank Gore should have a decent week.
Now, I believe that the ideal team to target Colts players is a team that is 4-0 or 3-1. So you're not going to get T.Y. Hilton with Andrew Luck for a little while. But you know now that there will be a time in which that will come this year. You have that certainty has gone up. The offensive line will be improved. And therefore, I think if you have a winning record and you can go buy T.Y. Hilton low, which right now, no matter what, you're going to be able to buy him lower than whatever his value would be as a top 12 guy, which he's been the past 2 years. That's my recommendation for fantasy owners. Chris Carson on IR, fractured leg, high ankle sprain. We talked about it yesterday. We're not really expecting him back this year. Ty Montgomery said he's dealing with multiple broken ribs, and I was reading about this morning. He basically just said he thinks he can play, but he can't play until they rule out the possibility of an internal injury taking place on the field due to the fractured ribs.
It's beyond me trying to play running back with multiple broken ribs. I know we have shots in like they can take some numbing of some kind, but man, even with a flak jacket, I don't know. This stinks for fantasy. If Ty Montgomery plays, I think it stinks. Because it takes out it would Aaron Jones, who we'll talk about in the waiver section. It puts a rain on that parade. And then Montgomery, can you actually trust him to finish a game with broken ribs or be effective even if he plays the whole game? And this will put fantasy players in a tough spot.
Yeah, and because of what you saw in Aaron Jones and what you just laid out, not just for fantasy but for real life, I can't imagine Ty Montgomery playing this week. Rob Kelly had bruised ribs, practiced all week, and then sat out that first game back. I cannot fathom that Ty Montgomery would be able to do that. Now, maybe, but I'm calling for Ty Montgomery to not play this week.
Corey Davis not going to be back week 5. Marcus Mariota is day-to-day with a hamstring injury, so he is questionable for this week. And some reports said they may not decide till very late in the week. Find another option.
Yeah, if you're counting on Mariota, you best be prepared.
Mohamed Sanu will miss 2 to 3 weeks with a hamstring injury, and basically Jack Doyle's still in the concussion protocol, and Doug Martin, let's talk about this. He came out and he said he's not sure how many snaps he's going to play on Thursday night's game. Reports said that he went through the walkthrough with the team. I had talked about the fact there is limited practice time for him. It is Tuesday today. They play on Thursday evening. How confident, Jason, are you in starting Doug Martin as a running back 2 this week?
Yeah, I'm decently confident. As a running back 2, I think that's what you should be able to expect. I can't imagine that he will not be at least involved in the game. I said a few days ago that I think he's going to come in and be the starting running back because this is the system that he knows. This is not like, okay, there's a new coach and a new system, and he has played in this for years, and we saw when he went out and then came back, Jaquiz Rodgers last year went just from having complete workload to poof, vanish, you're gone. Doug Martin's back, he's our guy, so I don't know why it would change unless he's out of shape. I'm confident to start Doug Martin as an RB2.
Yeah, I'm interested. I guess I'm interested to see what happens. I think this scenario is different than last year because you're coming back from a team discipline issue as opposed to an injury, and so I think that there may be some shared carries on Thursday, but you are playing the Patriots. So I think there's actually potential for both players to have value in that game. We'll have to wait and see. Is there any chance, Mike, that you believe Doug Martin will be inactive for this game?
Inactive?
Correct. You think there's any chance that they
I
walk him through the practice and they don't play him this week?
I suppose you have to say there's a small percentage chance, but I'm with Jason. I expect him to play, and I expect him to get the work.
Okay.
I hope so because he's going to take the league by storm, right? He's one of your guys this year, Andy. You got him cheap, and you've been waiting for him. And if you can trade for him, if a team is worried, I'm just saying I was almost able to. He has passed his bye. And that is an unfair advantage for any of the players on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Miami Dolphins.
When do we get a bye week? Do we have a bye week coming up?
I think you have a bye week coming up next week.
That's actually true. I do have a bye week coming up.
I think my bye week is in 2026.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, it's time to talk waivers. Before we do that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Pristine Auction.
Yeah, we do.
Pristine Auction is the best place for sports memorabilia. We've said it a million times. If you want incredible stuff, the things that you're going to put in your living room or you're going to put in your man cave or you're going to put in your office or wherever you want to make a room look
under your bed,
just something
under your pillow,
something incredibly special, or give a gift that is different. It's not like, oh, I went down to the Walmart and got you a gift. See, you're getting a signed like you're getting signed jerseys from players that are authentic signatures. They are JSA certified signatures. They are legit. Get a helmet or gloves or, there's just so much amazing stuff on there. Hundreds of daily auctions, just thousands of items. You got to check it out. Go to pristineauction.com. That's PRISTINE auction.com. Make a completely free account and tell them that the Fantasy Footballer sent you.
See? Yeah, see? Hey, if you're going to play some DFS, some daily fantasy this weekend, we invite you to check out dfspass.com. This is our premium resource for all the knowledge you need to construct your daily fantasy lineups. We got Chris Meany from the Fantasy Sports Network. We got Ben Cummins. We got Jake Seeley giving you their picks for cash games, for tournament plays. We have we give you stack reports. We have all the Vegas odds there, and we have this amazing value chart where you can go in and say, hey, this weekend I'm feeling maybe you're getting nuts and you're feeling Jay Cutler. Well, you can go in and you can see which site is it better for your salary cap to play this guy as well as, then all the prices are there to help you think about constructing your lineup. This
is our ultimate draft kit that we make. It's the UDK for in season for everybody playing FanDuel, DraftKings. If you play DFS, this is going to help you out. A couple weeks ago, someone who was a DFS Pass user won first place, got $56,000.
Yes, congratulations.
True story.
Yeah, it is.
So, you got to check it out.
Check it out, dfspass.com.
Put me in, coach.
We should really change the pricing model on that to be like a percentage of winnings.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the one point that I did not remember. It's one low price for the entire year. This is not a monthly subscription right now.
And basically every other competitor out there, they do a monthly price. It's much higher, and we're all about the value. We give you the best bang for your buck. All right, let's talk about waivers this week. Look, the buys are here. So the waiver discussion becomes a little bit different. It's not just am I picking up a player with long-term value. There's a short-term aspect to it. There's the spot start aspect to it. And let's start at the wide receiver position. Now, what we're going to do is we're breaking these things down a little bit differently than we have in the past. We're trying to make this as easy to digest as possible so that you have targets in your league. And so we're going to start out with a couple of names that are probably owned, but still worth checking in your league. Now, who do we have?
Yeah, the probably owned guys, Rashard Matthews, Tyrell Williams, they're owned in most leagues, but they are available, in about a quarter of leagues. And those guys have enough usage in their offense and good enough offenses where you should pick them up. They should be owned.
Okay. Main waiver wire targets this week at the wide receiver position. You had a big flashy week from Devin Funchess on 9 targets. You had success from Danny Amendola. You had Will Fuller's 2 touchdowns. How should players be valuing kind of the main available guys in their league this week?
I love the pickup of Danny Amendola. I have my rule 80-11, which says when Julian Edelman is out and Danny Amendola is in, you play him. I know it's kind of a convoluted process there, but he gets targets, 7 targets this past week. He's currently healthy, and he's a huge part of what that team does. And the Patriots are scoring just 50 points a week or whatever. And this week they get Tampa Bay. He's a great pickup and start this week.
Yeah, and if you do start him this week, remember to put him in your wide receiver position because he's starting on Thursday. So is he your kind of number one target out of the possible group? He's probably available in about half of leagues.
Yeah, he's definitely up near the top. I would say my top pickups this week would be at wide receiver, Danny Amendola, Devin Funchess, and Jerron Brown would be my guys because they're getting the targets. Jerron Brown is playing essentially all the snaps for the Arizona Cardinals last week, 12 targets, over 100 yards, and he's a go-to receiver. Right? He's not J.J. Nelson getting you this huge 70-yard sexy touchdown bomb. But
he's a big boy.
But he's getting receptions. The team loves him, which was evident last year. He tore his ACL. They re-signed him after tearing his ACL so that he was part of their plans. And Devin Funchess, since Greg Olsen went down, he's getting a bunch of targets.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting a 2-touchdown week from Devin Funchess, but I think he's a fine spot starter.
Funchess has been involved enough. We talked about him before this last week, before the 2 touchdowns as a pickup option. I like him. I also like Tyler Lockett. He's been healthier and more involved. They use him in the running game. He can always break a special teams play, and then he is involved. 67 yards through the air last week. Also, in addition to Jaron Brown, John Brown was back.
He was.
He's still in the process of getting healthier, but we know from the past what kind of value he has. If you're needing a spot start, a single start, I would agree with you. Danny Amendola would be the guy I'd be looking to pick up the most.
Cooper Kupp had another good week, 5 for 60 and a touchdown. We know the targets haven't quite been there for Sammy Watkins, but I think Kupp is more of a long-term grab because Seattle, Jacksonville, Arizona the next 3 weeks. Another one worth mentioning. Now, Willie Snead and Josh Doxson. Josh Doxson kind of in that super deep pickup, but both of those guys have a bye. So how do you approach them? I mean, do you just basically throw a waiver claim out there with no fab attached to them to just try to sneak them onto your roster, or because you think people will ignore them? What is kind of the thought process there? Because Snead is owned in a lot of leagues, but Doxson isn't. Could have came down with a touchdown last night.
Should have came down.
But they
with a
both,
touchdown.
neither of them help you in the short term with the bye week.
Yeah, I'm not picking up either of these guys unless I've just got a deplorable bench of guys that I should just be dropping. I don't want to pick a guy up on a bye week. I would, if I do have that, then sure, I'll make a $0 bid, hold on to him for a week. But right now, while you're in the buys, you probably need guys that you can start. Not a guy that's, let me pick him up so he doesn't play this week.
What about your rookie crush of Zay Jones? Now that Jordan Matthews is expected to miss 1 to 2 months with the thumb injury,
I think Zay Jones is a guy that should be picked up and should be looked at because you have to. It's an NFL team; they have to throw the ball. They can't all go to Charles Clay.
I actually, when I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking about waiver pickups, I bring out one of those like canisters, you know how you keep the mosquitoes away, but mine, I spray it all over my body, and it keeps all wide receivers from Buffalo from entering my roster. I'm not doing it.
Do you spray the body or the computer?
I've been spraying the body. So, yeah.
So Zay Jones, he slithered his way onto your bench.
Yeah, he's in my computer. I actually think a great spot start, if you're looking for somebody to throw out there this week, I think Geronimo Allison with Devontae Adams likely to miss is an interesting play. I think Kendall Wright, if you want to take a shot right now before Mitch Trubisky gets into the lineup, Trubisky has 11 days to prepare, and Kendall Wright kind of seems like he's the highest target opportunity there. And then what about Mike Wallace this week against Oakland? 10 targets last week, 6 for 55 and a touchdown. The 10 targets is what attracts me, and the Oakland matchup is interesting.
Yeah, the matchup is enticing. It's so tough, man, to trust anyone in the Baltimore receiver corps. I mean, they were down big, and I don't recall how long it was, but I think like through the third quarter or so, Joe Flacco had like 50 yards. I mean, it's a disaster in the passing game. The numbers ended up okay by the end, but I don't expect Baltimore to go to Oakland and play against E.J. Manuel and be down 20 points.
Yeah, and to lean on the passing game. Yeah. All right. Are you guys comfortable moving on to the running backs?
Yeah.
All right, here's 3 names that I want to bring up. Probably owned guys, but they are worth checking on. So these would be the headliners. If
they're out there, you have to grab them.
Yeah, these are the must-grabs. Tariq Cohen.
You got to stay with him.
Wendell Smallwood had a nice week. And then Alvin Kamara, who Jason,
even with the bye week,
mentioned as a rising star. Well, the bye week may mean his price is lower.
Yeah,
that's what that generally means. If you've got a guy with one of the players on bye, maybe you have somebody that needs a start. They're not looking at Alvin Kamara.
My aforementioned bye week avoidance on waivers does not extend to the running back position, because when you have an opportunity to pick up a running back who is startable, you do it, even if he's on bye. If he was suspended, if he's, you've got to take the running backs that are getting it done. Last week, 15 touches, and he's been more and more involved. You've heard good things out of camp, so I would still pick up Kamara.
Do you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, I think I would pick him up because the guys we're about to talk about, it's injury-related opportunity, but it's not.
And you're hoping you get the right guy on the team. Like all
that's
these,
exactly
all these
what it
groups.
is.
It's not guys we're talking about. We're about to talk about a bunch of groups, a bunch of teams where it's like, okay, Ty Montgomery. Let's say he misses. Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Aaron Jones. He looked great. I think he would be a great spot
well,
start.
We know that Jamal Williams, he came in. He was the initial backup for Green Bay, but he came in the game, went down quickly with a knee injury. Aaron Jones, who I think was a 5th-round rookie, I believe was Williams in the 4th, Aaron Jones in the 5th. He came in, looked electric, looked like he knew what he was doing, looked like a pro, and he had that Aaron Rodgers trust, which is a huge part of being on the Green Bay Packers. And Aaron Jones is my pickup from the Packers. But the question is, do you think Ty Montgomery is going to miss? Because I can't give a definitive answer on that right now.
I do.
I've said that. Yeah, we can give our opinion.
Even if you think he's going to miss, I think you get into a messy situation. What made Montgomery attractive? I mean, his actual he never had a 10-yard plus run this year. I mean, what made him attractive was the volume of snaps that he was receiving. I think if Williams and Jones are active, Randall Cobb is active, you're just going to have a really odd split, an unpredictable split.
I'm confident that Williams is going to miss.
Okay.
So if Montgomery misses, then Aaron Jones is a great start this week.
You said you're confident Williams is going to miss?
Yes.
Well, that changes it quite a bit.
Yeah. And,
so then Jones is a great start.
And even though he didn't have any targets this last game, Aaron Jones is a good –
He's a good pass catcher.
He's a good pass catcher. He had a season with 30 catches in college.
How much fab are you willing to drop on Aaron Jones knowing that it's likely just a spot start? This isn't looking like a long-term
Because
right
of that,
now.
this is completely team-dependent. If you are in a matchup where you need to win and you have to start a running back off of waivers this week, then I'm willing to go more. I would pay $15 to try to buy a win this week. If you're not in that position, I probably will put $1 on him and just try to maybe grab him if he goes through for free, because he is probably a 1-week rental, maybe a 2.
The bigger story is Minnesota. Dalvin Cook, torn ACL, out for the year. Now you have to look at the rest of the RB squad for Minnesota. It's not a hope-inspiring group. You have Latavius Murray, who was the big free agent acquisition, who says he's still dealing with his ankle recovery. He had off-season surgery on his ankle. Then you have Jerick McKinnon, who's been given seems like chance after chance after chance with the team and not getting anything done. Are you investing at all in Minnesota backups?
I think you got to take a shot.
I mean, I would go after Murray. I would go after the
okay.
We've seen McKinnon alone in the backfield. I mean, he's not really ever alone in the backfield. That's the problem. And we've seen it over the years. I'd go for the unknown of Murray, somebody they paid for, that situation. And you know, right now, without Bradford, this offense isn't very exciting for anybody from a consistency standpoint. So I would take the shot at Murray myself.
I mean, you know what? McKinnon does have the role, though, because even when Dalvin Cook was the primary runner, the workhorse, Jerick McKinnon was still getting on the field. Latavius Murray was not. Do you think that's more a product of because you expect
It's the same argument you make about Darren McFadden's situation, where McFadden's inactive, Alfred Morris is on the field, but when push comes to shove and you need a starter and a grinder, McKinnon cannot suffice in that position.
No,
and you saw the carries happen last game for Latavius Murray that gave me confidence he'd be the guy.
Are you willing to go big on Latavius Murray?
I'm willing to go
because he's, as far as we know, he's a starting running back for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I mean, $15-$20.
Yeah,
out of $100 budget.
Okay.
I would agree, and I would also be targeting Murray. McKinnon, he'll get work, but he's athletic and he's not good at football. That's my official stance. 2 carries,
Bringing
0 yards,
hammer.
and I brought that last year. I guess here's why
He's
I don't
Andre
like
Ellington.
McKinnon.
That's the problem.
The reason
He's
I don't like
roll.
McKinnon is because I feel like there is this fantasy football community that loves him. That just is like, oh, they need that. Before this year, they need to just make him the guy. And I've always gone, why? He's never done it.
Those people died a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
McKinnon a couple of years ago was exciting to me. He was the Kristen Michael of excitement 2 years ago. Now he's a role player.
You be careful.
Yeah.
You be careful with that man's name.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Don't want to drag that through the mud.
Through the IR.
All right.
Seattle. Let's go to another team that's lost their starting running back. Chris Carson placed on IR, presumably for the entire rest of the season. And now you have a 3-headed crapshoot. You're rolling the dice.
It's 4-headed.
Oh, I forgot about CJ Prosise.
McKissick.
I mean,
Prosise. I mean, I'd take my money and I'd buy the cheaper of the 2 starting options, which is Rawls and Lacy. I would actually buy the cheaper.
You think they will be cheaper than? Oh, you're envisioning one of those 2 as the starter.
I'm envisioning. I want whoever's going to get the ball on the 5-yard line if the situation comes up. And I would just I'd probably put low bids on both and just hope I end up with one of them and take the shot. That's my approach to it.
Putting a bid in on Seattle running backs this week, I imagine, is going to feel like do you guys remember, you can't say that on television, the Nickelodeon show, and then they would just drop the giant vat of green slime all over you? That's what it's going to feel like.
No matter who you draft.
No matter who you're putting the bid
Everybody
in on,
gets the slime.
You're going to go and submit.
Yeah.
Because the one thing we've seen,
which is what's going to happen if you start one of them as well,
is that their offensive line is so bad, and nobody has been really productive. Chris Carson was the only guy. So even if you get the guy that you want, and he is the guy, you nailed it. He's the guy getting the majority of the work. You're probably still going to be disappointed.
You're still getting the goo.
You're still going to get your 6.5, 7 points a game unless you get a touchdown.
So does that mean that you bend towards a pass catcher? McKissick or Procise or something like that?
McKissick is the only one that I'm going to put a $0 bid on McKissick because he actually looked like, oh, wow.
Did we remind people that Thomas Rawls was a healthy scratch?
No, but I mean that's what Lacey was the previous 2 weeks.
But that's just like,
so you don't know.
This is a geostorm here.
Great film.
So yeah, but
it's a geostorm is the opposite of
I just disparaged
of
geostorm.
the Clooney.
I apologize.
It's not a perfect storm. It's a geostorm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a player I like over all of these situations and options, to be honest with you. Jones, if you need a spot start, I like more than him. But Alex Collins, he's got a short leash due to the fumbles, but 2 straight weeks of 9 for 82. Had a 50-yard run in this game. Much more explosive than Terrence West has looked this year. The options are limited. We understand the situation. But, again, the unknown, the fact that Terrence West showed that he could burst onto the scene in Baltimore and provide fantasy value long-term for players last year tells me I want to take a shot with Alex Collins. And I went to set a little bid up this morning, and Jason had been the handcuff police and had grabbed a bunch of handcuffs last week, and he was already sitting on his roster.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
So you cheated.
Yes.
Asking for a friend. Would you start Alex Collins or Deonta Foreman this coming week?
I would start Alex Collins.
All right.
Yeah, so Alex Collins, because he has a little bit more of a long-term potential to me, is more interesting on the fab. Ellington had 9 for 86 through the air last week. Ellington's got so much more pep in his step, and this offensive line necessitates the pass to the pass-catching back.
Ellington's probably my top running back pickup of the week.
Really?
Yeah. He has value. He's a pass-catching running back, 14 targets, and what Andy said, the offensive line play in Arizona necessitates that Ellington's going to get a boatload of targets.
Yeah, and he still looks quick, and he had a touchdown stolen from him. If you didn't watch the game, he had an amazing receiving touchdown, 2 feet down possession that was overturned and taken away from him.
Yeah,
so I mean,
ridiculous.
he had a chance to get in the end zone. It's worth mentioning Chris Johnson as well. He had 13 carries. He had 3 for 31. If you're in a deep league, he's a deep pickup.
Yeah, deep. I mean, you've got your spelunking cap on.
You're in a 32-team league.
Well, here's the problem. What if you got Marshawn Lynch? Marshawn Lynch getting 6-9 carries. Chris Johnson got 13 carries.
Yeah, Chris Johnson's got to be running for like 1.7 a carry.
Yeah, that's about. I mean,
I'd
game,
still
he's
play Marshawn
about 3
over Chris Johnson at this point.
Yeah, I would as well.
I am just out on Marshawn.
That's fine.
I'm
out on Chris Johnson,
but I'm just out. All right, and then Morris and McFadden are the cursory pickups in case something bad goes wrong with.
We should have news very soon. We had the announcement that there was no
on Ezekiel.
Yeah, there would be no ruling on Elliott yesterday, and as of right now, nothing has happened. Brooks, do we have breaking news?
No, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
All I have is the soon report. I'm sure it'll be the second our
I really hope it's like
show goes up.
A GIF of a soon, like where the cat is peering over someone's shoulder.
Yeah.
2 other guys worth mentioning in deeper leagues. Wayne Gallman, he actually looked the part, carrying about 4 yards a carry behind the New York Giants line.
Now.
And if he is the starter, the Los Angeles Chargers' run defense has not looked especially difficult. So he could be one of those like Alex Collins type of startable guys for a week. And Elijah McGuire, with Matt Forte out, he's been getting the use. He had 12 touches, 93 yards and a touchdown on the ground last week, but he's a rookie and unknown. You've got a little bit of hope, and then that hope is added to whenever you play the Cleveland Browns, which is his matchup this week. So there's plenty of bad options at running back. So you can take your pick. I think Latavius Murray would be my
he'd be your number one?
He would be my number one just because he has the opportunity to be a starting running back for the rest of the season.
Okay, super deep pickups. We talked about those two guys. Let's move on to tight ends. The probably owned option at tight end, but somebody that I think has proven himself to be a top 12 guy each and every week because of the pass-catching situation in Buffalo. It's Charles Clay. Charles Clay's owned in about 2/3 of leagues, but if he's available in yours, he had 5 for 112 last week. He has touchdown potential, he has big play potential, and he has I'm all alone standing out here in the field potential.
I mean, when you're talking tight ends, other than the every week starts of Gronk, Ertz, Kelsey, am I missing one right now?
What's crazy is I'm not sure you are. Maybe
Gronk?
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
he said
Gronk, Kelsey, and Ertz. They're an every week start at the tight end position, no matter what. And after those three guys, Clay is right up there. As
I would say Clay is right up there. Yeah.
So I mean, top 5. I mean, that's what a world. What a world we live
Delaney
in.
Walker's in every week.
Okay, yeah.
Delaney Walker, and I was forgetting.
Would you put Evan Ingram in there now?
Yes, Evan
in
Ingram
that category,
is now
getting
a
enough
weekly
targets.
start. I don't. If you're saying you got to go Clay or Ingram, that's going to be a tough decision. But they're both top 12 weekly starters now. The volume is there.
All right, let's go ahead. But
speaking of Evan Ingram, he is an absolute must pick up. 11 targets. The dude can't block, but he can catch footballs, and he's a mismatch. And Eli Manning has played well the last couple weeks. The game scripts have kind of forced his hand. So we'll see what the Chargers can do because the Giants will be taking on the Chargers this upcoming week. We'll see if that game script continues for the Giants.
Yeah, if you're in a PPR league as well, I think Ben Watson he's a mighty fine pickup. Couple
he's
weeks
a mighty
ago,
fine man indeed.
Couple weeks ago, he was 8 for 91. Then last week he got the touchdown, or 2 weeks ago, and then last week 5 for 43, which 5 for 43 is not good unless you're talking about tight ends this season, in which case, hey, 5 for 43.
Oh, I'd take it.
Wow.
See, the tight end approach for
That's
a lot,
gold.
if you don't have one of those auto starter guys, your tight end approach is pretty much basically it's not trying to be healthy at tight end. It's trying not to be sick at tight end in the sense that you're trying to go anti-goose. What's your lowest opportunity to get destroyed at tight end? Guys my number one pickup would be Ingram if Clay's not there. So it'd be Clay, Ingram. I would then go ASJ.
Yes.
Because he's led the team in receiving for 2 consecutive weeks, and then Ben Watson would be there. And then if you're playing with the dirty fire of Hunter Henry.
Never again.
He's more owned than any of these guys. So, Mike, you don't have to sign him because somebody already has him.
Yeah.
Lucky.
He's quicksand on your team. Good luck.
Yeah, you were talking yesterday about this whole concept of basically, some of these guys that seem undroppable.
Like Crowell. Crowell was the person who started this discussion.
Yeah.
That
if you really don't believe he's coming back.
I can't drop him. Of course, you always try and trade a player because maybe someone believes in them. But the value is so low, I don't expect you're going to be able to trade them for much. But dropping them sounds crazy. But maybe you're putting a trap.
You called it a landmine.
A landmine, yeah. A landmine, quicksand, a black hole, whatever, on someone else's roster because he's going to get picked up. And started. And someone's going to go, oh, I got to start him. It's Isaiah Crowell. And you're like, but we're past this. We are past Isaiah Crowell's name value. And
Brooks,
it hurts your team more than – so you set this little trap up for someone else to pick him up and play him.
I want to do a segment, Brooks, and I want to call it the name game, where we just drop stats and not the name of these players and decide what we do on some of these drop situations because – that's the honest truth. It's just hard to drop guys like that. It's going to be hard. Do you drop Jamison Crowder? Do you go pick up a better wide receiver option? And the problem with that is look, we got emotional attachment that comes along with spending 4 months talking draft about players and the hopes and dreams and everything that comes. Look, Marshawn Lynch. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily drop Marshawn Lynch, but you know who you need to drop? I'm going to say it right now. You need to drop Derek Carr. Derek Carr's schedule, injury, situation, you need to start somebody.
Unless you've got an IR.
Are you going to roster 2 or 3 quarterbacks because you want to – I mean, somebody emailed me they had Andrew Luck, who's going to start practicing. They had Derek Carr, and they can't play either of them, and they're saying, well, do I hold 3 quarterbacks now? No.
No.
You drop Derek Carr, you keep Andrew Luck on your IR or your bench, and then you go find a spot starter. You go sign Deshaun Watson or somebody. And we're going to talk about our streams right here in a minute. Let's talk about streaming defensive options this week. Who do you guys like?
Well, they're probably owned, but the Vikings versus Chicago is the supreme play. Just give a little peek ski to the waiver wire. They may be there.
I would say the Eagles are available in the still a slight majority of leagues
versus Arizona.
The Arizona offensive line and the Eagles pass rush is a match made in fantasy heaven because you get points for sacks. And there will be plenty of them. Right now, Carson Palmer leading the league in taking sacks.
Oh, that's a good stat
to
be the leader of.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations, Carson. Your trophy is in the mail.
And the Bills.
Oh, I love the Bills.
The Bills defense.
They're legit.
They're
good. Really good. And you're playing against Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton came back to life.
Against the Browns.
Now you're going up against a Bills defense that a lot of good quarterbacks have struggled with, and if you think Andy Dalton's getting out of there without throwing a pick,
now I have to make
my favorite team is the Ravens.
I was going to say I have to make a decision here for our league of record. I've had the Ravens the last 2 weeks just destroying me. I mean, 2 weeks ago negative points. This past week I think it was 3. So in the past 2 weeks I have I think net 1 positive point from the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh, congratulations.
It's been an excellent ride. But they get to go take on EJ Manuel.
Yeah.
You're still all aboard?
Yeah. I think they're a good option. Yeah.
I do think they're a good option.
Yeah. I do.
EJ Manuel.
The people who are like, the Ravens are a great option because they did not play the Ravens the past 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, last week they played Big Ben. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They played road Big Ben.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still
it does matter.
Of course it matters, but you still played road Le'Veon Bell, who's great. You knew he was going to be great.
The one problem is the other side of the ball. Their defense is put in a bad position by their offense's inability to, 1, control the clock and hold the ball, and 2, move the ball down the field for basically putting them in a field position game. So
Philadelphia.
You like Philadelphia's defense?
I do like Philly a lot this week.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let's break down the quarterbacks.
Full stream ahead.
All right, we're talking about quarterback streaming options this week. Last week, we had some good options for you. Eli Manning came through. Mike, you're going to double up on him this week. Mike, your streaming quarterback option is Eli.
Eli Manning, and he's a little bit more owned than we generally like to have to give advice for the stream. But I think he's a great streaming option. The Chargers are traveling across the country for a morning game. We've seen time and time again the West Coast teams, it's not in an ideal situation. And Eli's playing well, and they can't run. And he's got Marshall, Shepard, Ingram. Things are looking up for Eli Manning, so I think that he is a mighty fine stream this week.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I would be very happy to play Eli Manning, but like you said, he might be owned in your league. I'll give you a guy who's not owned in your league. Oh, you play in a 3 quarterback league? Don't worry.
He's still
Brian Hoyer has not been playing that well this year. He's got 1 good game out of 4. But if you actually,
that's how I always like to start my streaming.
Yes,
he has been playing very poorly this year.
Here's the thing
25%
about his
of
games.
the time.
Take a look at his 4 games. You've got the Carolina Panthers defense. Week 1 looked great. Then you go to Seattle Seattle. That's rough. Also go to Arizona in the field goal game of last week. That's rough. Those are hard games, and of course he had bad matchups on all 3 of those. He did have 1 game against the Los Angeles Rams where he threw for 332 yards and 2 touchdowns, had 32 fantasy points. he has always been a great streaming option. And this week he's got the Indianapolis Colts, one of the best matchups out there. I think you can start Brian Hoyer. I mean, he can look really good and get the job done if he's got a good matchup, and he does.
He's at home.
No,
he's not. Okay. That's why I was wondering why the Colts are favored by 1.5 points, and that would be why. Yeah, I was so close to just saying, I really like that take, but I don't like him on the road against Indianapolis. No, not for me, but that's okay. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I'm going to stay in the Flames. He's only 26% owned. He's the top quarterback pickup for me because he represents the potential for a really long-term high-value guy. He's got a rushing floor to him, so he's willing to run the ball a little bit, and you might have to spend a little bit more this week to put him on your roster. But after Kansas City this week, he has Cleveland and then a bye week, so it's really dependent on what you have.
And then he goes to Seattle.
Yeah, he goes to Seattle. It's dependent on what else you have on your roster, but I like Watson. I think he's a great streaming option this week. And I think he'll do well for you. There are some other very good streaming options this week. You have Andy Dalton, 46% owned. I don't know if he's a great streaming option though, because of the Buffalo matchup.
There's a matchup where both quarterbacks I think are in full stream potential here. You get Deshaun Kaiser against the Jets, which means you get Josh McCown against the Browns.
Yeah, I do like.
So
both
those two guys. Heads up, who would you take? Kaiser or McCown? Because I think I'd go with McCown.
I would as well.
I think I'd go McCown.
Pretty accurate, and Cleveland has been pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as pass defense, their rush defense has been okay.
Get nasty. Josh McCown.
Hey,
he was almost my stream of the week.
You know what we're gonna do?
I don't know what we're gonna do.
We're gonna get into the mailbag.
Why don't you just tell me what we're going to do?
Mailbag.
All right, if you have a question,
very nice.
If you have a question for the show, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button. You can also send them over on Twitter at the FF Ballers and call our voicemail hotline 302-464-TFFB. This one comes in from Tori in Montana. He or she titled it Fantasy Depression. Said Standard League, these are my week 1 through 4 scores. And he or she gives them and then says, I've started 0-4, and I feel like we have a really solid team. I have 457 points scored against me. So a lot. And then he's fourth highest scoring team. How do you keep your sanity when you're getting that whole outscored, a lot of points against you?
Tori, me and you together are hand in hand in this situation. I'm 0-4, and I won't read off my whole roster, but it's a good roster. It just
got a very good team.
The ball is bouncing away from me. I would have beat 50% of the league this week, but I lost to Andy, and I'm 0-4, and you're the fourth highest scoring team.
Apparently you don't know how to keep your sanity.
Well, it's tough, but you're the fourth highest scoring team in the league. You gotta persevere.
Here's what you need to do. You need to realize that Andy and myself in our division against Mike, we are hoping, nay, praying that Mike goes on tilt and that he trades away his assets and then he makes bad decisions that we could take advantage of because he's in that hole. Mike, when I tried to deal with him, said he's going to hold off another week before doing that because he knows what he's doing. And so my advice to you is be confident in your team. Don't make tilt moves. If you're the fourth highest scoring team, then it will come back to where you should be. You should be probably at least 2-2, or if not 3-1 when you're the fourth highest scoring team. So stick with it. We're still so early in the season. You'll be fine, Tori.
Yeah, and you can take advantage of other teams that are throwing in the towel. That's the other equation. If you have other teams that are throwing in the towel, suddenly your competition shrinks down, things come back to the mean. That's all you can do. Dan in Syracuse wants to know who's the best chance to be a big upside play from the waiver wire this week. So we just went through all the...
Aaron Jones.
Yep, that's my pick too.
Mine as well.
Especially PPR league. All right, Cohen or Kamara rest of season, says Dan in Pensacola. Would you rather have Cohen or Kamara for the rest of season in a half-point per reception league?
I would rather have Kamara.
I'm going to take the offense. I'm going to go Kamara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, the Saints' offense with running backs has been near the top of the league, and Kamara's getting more and more involved.
Nick in San Ramon, California. I have Jordan Reed on a bye. Martellus Bennett is my backup. Is he droppable for another tight end, specifically Ingram?
For Ingram, yes.
Would you drop him for Ingram?
I would. I would rather have Ingram. I'd rather targets. I know that there's a report today that Aaron Rodgers, I need to get Martellus Bennett involved early. I don't know how many times we need to see that the tight end option for Green Bay is not where you want to go for fantasy because they have 3 of them.
I think see I wonder about that because if Devontae Adams misses this week, we brought up Geronimo Allison, but he would be a little bit more involved. And last week, I mean, you have Martellus Bennett with 6 receptions.
I would strongly consider playing Bennett this week if Jordan Reed is on a bye and you're going to get Reed back.
But wouldn't you rather have Ingram for the long term?
But you don't need to because you have Jordan Reed. That's the thought process there is play the better start this week as opposed to taking a guy with a better long-term prognosis. I can go. I think both are good starts, but the matchup isn't ideal for Ingram this week. It's better for Bennett, and Bennett has targets as well. So I would actually play Bennett this week.
Get ready for Lance Kendrick's touchdown.
Right, yeah, no joke. If you do decide you want Ingram because of everything we laid out, make a $0 bid. Don't spend because it's so close.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where it's like, okay, I think I want him more. I'm going to try to pick him up, but you could be wrong about that, and then you've spent $5 or $10 of your fab for no reason.
All right. This one's from a Vikings fan in Heartbreak Hotel. He says, is Terrence West droppable?
No.
I would drop him.
You would?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would drop Terrence West.
He's not a – I would. I would drop him.
I would drop Terrence West for Alex Collins.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah. He's useless.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's been battling through some injuries. I just don't know whether or not they're going to put him to the back of the line. He's been their starter. This last week was pretty horrific for Terrence West. But if he was out there,
you mean his negative
4 for negative 7.
-3?
Yeah, I mean, negative 7 yards on 4 carries.
8 carries, 6 carries, 4 carries.
So he should have 2 carries.
I mean, we told everybody to ship him out after the Cleveland game where he miracled a touchdown on 8 for 22 because the writing was on the wall. This offense stinks. So I guess we named like 10 guys on the waiver show today that I'd rather have than Terrence West.
Back-to-back 9 carry weeks from Alex Collins says Terrence West, you could probably get rid of him.
Sorry, buddy.
You've won me over.
You burned not really bright.
You burned bright.
You burned you just burned. Thank you for listening to the show today, watching over on YouTube. You can subscribe over there and hang out with us every single day. And don't forget, check out draft.com/ballers to play on the draft app. Some DFS, draft with us, and they got these cool money back guarantees now. If you're a new player on draft.com/ballers, they take care of you. So take care. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.